process, they could maximize food production. So when Cortez comes up over the mountains and he's looking down in the Valley of Mexico, it had a population of about 8 million people. Today, the Valley of Mexico has a population of about 25 million people because it's the 5th largest metropolitan area on the planet. It's 7,000 feet in elevation, so higher than Denver. For those of you who are obsessed with the mile-high city, Mexico City is way higher. And it has kind of a rough climate for growing food, but with the way the Aztecs rigged this thing, they can support a population of 8 million people. It was literally the most densely populated piece of property on planet Earth. It was more densely populated than any place in India, China, Egypt, anywhere that has traditionally high density populations. And that was because Aztec agriculture was that amazing, that they could support this massive population. In other words, it was superior to anything the Spanish could do. The Spanish didn't have a population like that in the whole country of Spain, let alone one city, let alone one valley. So, as the Spanish are coming down this mountain, they're approached by Moctezuma. Moctezuma is the 10th Tlatoani, the 10th Aztec emperor. At this point, the Aztec Empire is 91 years old. It has not been around for long. It is a 92 years old. It's a brand new empire. And the Huey Tlatoani comes to Cortez, but he knows what's happened in Cholula. Word has already arrived. And he starts talking to him to try to figure out what he's about. And one of the things that Moctezuma says to Cortez, and by the way, the Spanish hear Montezuma, so that's who that is, that's Montezuma, but I'm not gonna call him that because it's just terrible. Moctezuma. One of the things that he's trying to figure out is, why did you slaughter Cholula like that? And so he calls him strange in the process of talking to him. Well, Malinche has a problem because if she tells Cortez that Moctezuma is calling him a weirdo, she knows Cortez is going to be more violent with her later on that evening. But she also has another interesting situation. The Maya word that she wants to use in this particular situation to tell to Aguilar means strange and God. And so she picks that word on purpose to avoid the punishment that's coming later when he's raging because he's been called a weirdo, knowing that Aguilar is going to be in the same problem. Like, is he going to, don't punish the messenger? Cortez is that guy. He will punish the messenger. So what he does, Aguilar does when he gets the word, is he tells Cortez, oh, Moctezuma thinks you're a god. So then they ask, which god? And in the confusion of the translating, going back and forth, they tell him Quetzalcoatl. The Aztecs never believed Cortez was Quetzalcoatl, but Cortez is a narcissist. He thinks he's Alexander the Great. He thinks he's Alexander the Great come to conquer the Aztec Empire now, to bring them God and Jesus. He's just gonna kill them all, but they'll now know Jesus when he's done. And so in this narcissistic moment, he's so excited that they think he's a god because he thinks he's a god. And so he embraces the myth, and so he writes it into his diary. And he talks about how they thought I was Quetzalcoatl. Moctezuma does something unbelievable. He surrenders. Just like that. He's like, you won. I'm not gonna fight you. Boom. Cortez can't believe it. He's just conquered the Aztec Empire, an empire of 35 million people with 500 men. And all he did was massacre Cholula. It shook Moctezuma up so badly, he couldn't comprehend fighting anymore, and he just surrendered. Cortez and his men moved right into Tenochtitlan. They're in the capital of the Aztec Empire. They're hanging out, happy-go-lucky, things are great, when word arrives that the governor of Cuba, I don't know how, has figured out what Cortez is doing and has sent an expedition to go defeat him and bring him back in chains for violating orders. He sent 800 men. So Cortez turns to his lieutenant, a guy named Alvarado. He goes, you hold on to the capital because we desperately don't want to lose it now that we took it so easily. I'm going to take 400 men and I'm going to go fight these 800 Spaniards. I'll be right back. So he goes. And Cortez defeats the 800 Spaniards. Now, according to Cortez, according to the Spaniards, they never used Native American allies. Well, we know that's not true. Not only because, well, they did, but also because we've done the archaeology on the battlefields. And so we've got the skeletal remains of the combatants and the weapons they were using. We know for a fact they were using Native American allies. So it wasn't that he defeated a force that was twice his size. He had some Tlaxcalano with him, and he used them to defeat the larger force. The larger force surrenders. They're like, you know what? We're done. And then Cortez goes to him and says, hey, I have just captured the Aztec Empire. They have so much gold. It's unbelievable how much gold they have. Do you want to join me, or should I just imprison you or execute you or something? And the Spaniards are like, yeah, gold? That's great. Maybe we can even get some slaves out of this or something, right? They're thinking big. And so they join him. So basically the governor accidentally sent him reinforcements. He turns around and is heading back to Tenochtitlan, and when he gets to the causeway at the southern end of the lake, he sees, before he gets to the causeway, he's still a ways off, but he can see what's happening. He sees that Alvarado and the 100 or so Spaniards he left behind are trapped on the causeway, and there's an Aztec force on either side fighting their way towards him. And Cortez realizes that the Spaniards have been evicted from the capital. While he's been gone, there was a coup d'etat, and 2 Aztec emperors, in fact, are dead now. Moctezuma and his replacement, who only lasted like 80 days. He gets replaced by Cuauhtémoc. Cuauhtémoc's the name you need to know. Cuauhtémoc decides the Aztecs are going to fight. And he decides the only way the Aztecs can fight such an immoral, evil force is with weapons, and it's appropriate. And so the Aztecs have armed up. They're no longer treating this as sacred life. They're treating this as, we've got to stop this unbelievable evil. Here's why. Here's what happened. So it was the 1-year anniversary of the conquest of Cholula. And when the 1-year anniversary of the conquest of a city takes place, the prisoners who have been living in Tenochtitlan, Tlatelolco, have to now be sacrificed. And so they go to the Temple of the Sun, and the prisoners are starting to run up the stairs, and they're starting to get sacrificed. And when Alvarado and his men see this, they can't believe it. It's so horrific. They snap, and they draw their weapons, and they begin butchering the Aztec priests. And when that happens, the Aztecs go, you know what? All bets are off. We're no longer surrendering. We're going to fight you. And in the process of fighting them, at one point, the Aztecs managed to capture a group of Spaniards. So the way the Aztecs saw it was, once you were sacrificed at the pyramid, the fight was over. So they thought, okay, we've got like a dozen of these guys. Let's run them up the pyramid and sacrifice them. One of the things that one of the Spaniards they captured was a horse. So they got the horse to run up the pyramid. They somehow flipped it on its back. They stuck a blade in it, and they opened it up and pulled out its heart and sacrificed it. They sacrificed the Spaniards. And they're like, you ready to surrender now? And Alvarado and his men are like, oh, we're all gonna get killed. So they decide they're gonna fight tooth and nail. Because, right, it's a lost in translation moment. They don't realize that they can now surrender and they'll be spared. It's over. The sacrifice was done. The war could be over in this moment. But also they want the gold and the slaves. So it wasn't probably occurring to them.